I want to thank our candidates for Washington State Supreme Court for making the trip over the mountains to visit with us today. We have Stan Rumbaugh and Jim Johnson. Hopefully you got a letter from me explaining the format, but if not, I'll just run over it really quick. You have 3 minutes for an opening statement. Then we're going to ask questions of you for 40, 45 minutes, and then you'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And it might be helpful for everyone just to go around and introduce themselves at this point. So we can start with you, Stan.
Stan Rumbaugh. I'm from Tacoma, Washington, and I'm here as a candidate for the Washington State Supreme Court.
I'm Justice Jim Johnson, and I'm on the Washington Supreme Court, and I live in Olympia, Washington.
I'm Matt Taylor, and I'm retired, but a member of the editorial board.
Chris Savula, editorial page editor.
Cecilia Rexis, editorial writer.
Rufus Friday, publisher.
Jack Briggs, retired publisher.
Ken Robertson, executive editor.
All right, thanks. And the way we'll go with the format is I'll start with the challenger and go to the incumbent, and we'll do the same in the closing. So, Mr. Rumbaugh, you have the first word, and Justice Johnson will have the last word.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me out here to Kennewick today. The first obligation of any Supreme Court justice is to protect the individual rights and liberties of the citizens, and it doesn't matter whether those citizens live in Tacoma, where I'm from, or Kennewick, or Spokane, or out on the Kitsap Peninsula. Appreciate the opportunity to come around. I've been practicing law in Tacoma for over 30 years, and I've represented thousands of individuals from all walks of life, all ethnicities, with all sorts of legal problems, great and small. I've represented these people at all levels of our court system, the trial court level, or sometimes administrative hearings, on up through the Court of Appeals and through the Supreme Court of the state of Washington. It's been my privilege in the course of representing these citizens from all walks of life to be exposed to a variety of legal problems, from civil tort claims to some criminal matters, to issues of complicated trust and estate litigation, equitable division of property at the time of death, bad faith, insurance, abusive practices claims, and the whole gamut, mostly now, of civil litigation. I've spent a lot of time in my community working for various boards and on commissions as a volunteer, doing work that I believe is important to advance the interests of our community. And those would be service on the Board of Trustees of Bates Technical College, providing job skills training to disabled folks, job retention training for people that need new skills to continue working in their industry. We have an alternative high school system, a Running Start program to keep at-risk kids in school and finishing high school and learning how to do something that will make them employable when they're done. I've served on boards related to my profession and related to a whole array of nonprofit and community outreach. And I think this is important because the experience that I bring to the court, not only as a lifetime litigator, but also as a member of the community that understands what people believe their government should be doing for them. The judicial system, of course, is a part of the government. And understanding what the law's intent, which is to serve the people, should be. And to be able to discern the intent of the law is important because you have to have consistent and reliable application of the law in order to adequately advise your clients or whatever group that you're with. So when you have judicial activists that take the law and put their particular brand of ideological spin on it, that both undermines the three. I guess that means I'm done, but, thank you very much for inviting me, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Johnson, please.
I'm Justice Jim Johnson, and I came here 6 years ago, I think, talked to many of you here and talked to the community here. I made a promise that I would protect your constitutional rights and not legislate from the bench. I've done over 700 cases, participated in those opinions since I've been on the court. I've fulfilled that promise, and I'm asking the citizens to return me to the Supreme Court of Washington. To flash back a moment, when I talked to you 6 years ago, I claimed wide experience. I had litigated almost 200 cases in trial courts, including 23 of the 39 counties of Washington. I had become the litigation appellate expert in the state of Washington for the Attorney General's office, litigating almost 100 appellate cases in the 8th Circuit, 9th Circuit, D.C. Federal Circuit, over 30 in our state Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. And I was, and still am, the only justice who had litigated and argued and won cases for the citizens of Washington in front of the United States Supreme Court. From that broad experience, in the 6 years in between, I've now written over 140 opinions in our state Supreme Court, 80 of those majorities and concurrence in the majorities, and yes, 60 dissents. I thought when we spoke the last time I'd be doing more dissents, but as it turns out, I've written a lot of majorities, and that, I repeat, there are about 700 cases that I've sat on arguments and participated in the decision-making. These cases have ranged particularly through those that I promised. Washington's Supreme Constitution has wonderful protections, better than the federal Constitution. So I've written on free speech rights, invalidating as unconstitutional a statute that let a public agency decide what's true speech in politics. I've written for religious rights, the Tent City case, recognizing our absolute freedom of religion includes the right of churches to participate, particularly in these tent cities. I've written a lot of cases on private property rights. We'll probably be debating a little one that I wrote just in the last month involving gun rights, recognizing that not only the 7th Amendment, but Washington's special constitutional protections extend and better to gun rights than does the federal Constitution. I'm proudest of all, most of all, of the cases I've written involving victim rights, because the second Attorney General, Ken Eikenberry, a friend still, was the prime sponsor, and the people of Washington adopted the Victims' Rights Amendment to our Constitution, and few states have one. Born out of a perception that the courts were protecting the constitutional rights of criminals, and they should, and we do. But many of the courts had forgotten victims. I have rejuvenated that and brought that as part of our jurisprudence today.
Okay. Well, during our questions and answers, we'll be sure to have time to get to the issues that you didn't cover in your opening statement, so we'll have plenty of time. My first question is for Mr. Rumbaugh. There's 3 seats open on the U.S. or the state Supreme Court this year, but you picked Mr. Johnson to oppose, and I'm just wondering why him?
My friend and colleague Charlie Wiggins is running against Justice Sanders for that seat, and so that race was taken, I guess you would say. Chief Justice Madsen is running unopposed, which I really think is too bad, because I think that every year, regardless of whether you're an incumbent or somebody that's looking to run for the bench or any political office, you need to give the voters a choice. And when I looked at the 2 remaining races, I felt that running against my opponent would give us a clear choice about perspectives that are being brought to the court. I believe that my perspective is more centrist. It reflects what I believe to be the mainstream values that we have in Tacoma and here and around the state. I've never worked for the government. I never cashed a government paycheck. I have built my own business over the last 30 years and faced those same challenges that every small business owner faces, making payroll, providing health care benefits to your employees, making sure your business has business and keeps running. And I'm very sensitive to those issues and the way that the government can assist and the way it's not very helpful. And I believe that based on the diversity of clientele and issues that I have dealt with and do deal with every day in my practice, I would provide a more centrist choice for the voters than my opponent, who I believe has spent most of his life working with the government and for large corporations, the Building Industry Associates of Washington, Tim Eyman, the Grange, Farm Bureau, and it's just a different perspective, and that's the choice that we present.